This is a Blackmagic color panel. Unfortunately, I don't have one anymore, and if you don't either, that really shouldn't be a problem. Color panels are so great for speed and accuracy, but they really are quite expensive. And that shouldn't stop us though from being able to achieve speed and accuracy within a software like DaVinci Resolve. So in this video, we're going to dive into how I have optimized my workflows and keyboard shortcuts in Resolve to achieve speed and accuracy. Whether you're a seasoned colorist or maybe just starting out, this video will help you elevate your color grading game without breaking the bank, I guarantee it. After lending a color panel from a friend for about a year, I realized that there were just a couple key elements that made them so good for speed and accuracy. And this was pretty much having all of your controls in one spot, as well as being able to look at your picture for a lot longer because you're not looking at your controls. And then also we can make secondary adjustments from a control panel, which unfortunately we can't do with a keyboard. But the other two things, we can make a way around it. So if we can make a lot of our navigation keys, a lot of the controls that we use on a regular basis as hotkeys, then our lives in DaVinci Resolve should be a lot more seamless, and our quality of life and quality of grading experience should be much better. Instead of having to switch to our mouse to create a new node or something like that, we should be able to just do that with a click of our button. So let's jump into DaVinci Resolve and talk about this grading workflow as well as the keyboard shortcuts by grading a small project. Before we get started, a quick thank you to my good friend Marriott for letting us use his footage for this tutorial. So please show him some support by checking out his profiles in the link in the description. So to get this tutorial going, we're going to start by building our node tree, because for this workflow, we need to be using a fixed node tree across the whole project. The reason for this is so that we have familiarity with the node structure on every single clip. That way, when we're trying to navigate with our keys, we are able to just move through different nodes really quickly without having to sort of look down and sort of just keep track. We don't have to get to our mouse, we can just move on, right? The other reason is so that we have consistency within our workflow, because if we're using the same node tree every single time we grade a project, we're going to get a lot more used to it, which means we're going to have a lot more speed being introduced into that workflow. So let's quickly build out this node tree and also talk through some of the shortcuts. You can also download all of these keyboard shortcuts in the link in the description for free. So with these keyboard shortcuts, we can now click one, which is going to create a new serial node, which I'm just going to bring down here. And this is going to be for our exposure adjustments. So I'm going to click 5, which is also a new keyboard shortcut. I'm just going to enable caps lock for now, and we're going to make this node labeled as exposure. Previous node is going to be labeled as noise reduction because that is our pipeline. So we can also use the minus key and the asterisk key on our number pad to be able to move back and forth between nodes. So minus going forward, asterisk going back. 1 again for a new serial node. This is going to be for our white balance. Enter and 1. This, and then 5 to label the node. This is going to be for our contrast. And we're just going to carry on with that kind of workflow with the keyboard shortcuts. This is going to be for our saturation, another node. This is going to be our look adjustment. So let's use this as an opportunity to talk about our overall approach before we carry on. So with this workflow, instead of grading every single shot by shot, and trying to make them look as good as we can, we're going to look at our project as scene by scene overall. So looking at each environment. So for me, in this project sense, we're going to use these 3 shots as our scene, because it is a scene. This is one environment that they're being shot in, and they need to have consistency carrying over. And so if we look at our whole project like that, it makes it a lot easier to sort of work going forward. So again, we have our exposure balance and our white balance, and we're going to do that to the hero shot within each scene, so that we sort of set the tone of the environment that we're in, and then we're going to balance the rest of the shots to that hero shot in each scene. Once we've done that, we can then apply our look to our whole project, not just shot by shot. We're going to apply the creative feel and look to the whole project so that there's consistency. Then we're going to come back into our clip node graph, and we're going to attack our look adjustment, which is essentially where we're going to just do our final tweaks and balances to make sure that the clip works within that look. The reason why I love to work like this is because if the client ever comes back saying that they want to change the look, or if they want to make some adjustments within the look itself, I don't have to come back and try and fix my white balance or exposure or anything like that. It's across the whole project that look changes, and I can come back, and if I need to make adjustments, I only need to do it in the look adjustment node. So it just keeps everything in control for me, and it helps me keep along with what I've done, which is really helpful. So the next thing we're going to do is then move on to our secondaries, which we're going to do without keyboard shortcuts, unfortunately. So I'm going to click 1 again, and this is going to be our hue versus. Just going to put caps lock on again. Hue versus, this is where we're going to make any hue versus hue or hue versus saturation, or use our color slice to make any sort of keys or anything like that. We are then going to click Alt-C, which is going to make a power window. I'm going to quickly make this a bit bigger and soften it out, and then invert it, and that is going to be for our power window. And then I'm going to use 2 and 2 again. These are going to make 2 parallel nodes for me. That way we have more nodes to make power windows on for any other adjustments we want to do. So cool, that is pretty much our entire node structure for every single shot that we're going to have. From now on, we are going to use that node structure. So I'm going to click again on this clip that we are currently on, and I'm going to hold Command or Control A, which is going to select all of our clips on our timeline. Then I'm going to middle mouse button click on the clip that has this node tree, and then I'm going to say replace. What we've just done is we have copied this node tree onto every single clip that is on our timeline, making it easier for us to now grade. So using our keyboard shortcuts, we can now navigate through everything quickly, and I'll show you that our node tree is on every single clip. So using our page up and page down, we can now go to the next clip or to the previous clip, and as you can see, the node structures on every single clip. So now that we know our approach, let's look at our hero shot, balance that hero shot, and then apply that balance to the rest of the scene, and then come make some tweaks, and we can move forward into the grading process. So I'm going to go back into this shot over here. I'm going to use Command and minus, which is going to take us to the last frame of this clip, which is really helpful, and obviously asterisk as well, which will bring us to the first frame. So that's really helpful when you just sort of want to get to a better frame for you to look at. So here is our clip. We can see that we definitely have to balance the shot and make it look a little bit cleaner, get some more separation in the image, make sure that we're controlling all the information in our image so that when we get to the look and the creative part, we have the most amount of information to play with. So we can see that there's some yellow walls already over here, so we don't want to make this image too blue. Let's sort of balance it so that we're just getting more separation. There's like quite a bit of a yellow wash. So we're going to navigate back to our exposure and our white balance nodes like that. Before we move forward, this is where we're going to talk about printer lights, which is amazing and I'm really excited about it. Before we can actually use those printer lights, you need to come up to here, click color and say printer light hotkeys, or select printer light hotkeys. That is just going to enable your ability to actually use printer light hotkeys. Printer light adjustments are adjustments that are made to our red, green and blue channels within our offset wheel. And offset is really great because it works on a global level. So if we adjust our exposure within our offset wheel, all of the information moves up in one go. And so we're not really affecting the contrast of our image, just the exposure. Whereas if we were to pull up the gain, we are affecting the contrast. So it works on a global level, and it does the same with its color adjustments. So if we make an adjustment to our red channel, or we pull red out of our image, we aren't really pulling red out of our highlight specifically or gamma specifically. It's being reduced from our image as a whole. And this is great for shot matching because it allows us to affect our image as a whole with a couple keys. So printer light adjustments can be made with 3 different measurements. You can have a full printer light, a half printer light, or quarter printer light. I like to work with full printer lights and half printer lights just because it makes it a little bit easier for myself. So I'm going to come back to our exposure, and as you can see, we are going to make adjustments using our 8 key, which is going to pull the exposure just up, or we can reset our node using the period key, and we can pull our exposure down by using 7. It's really helpful to make it nice and quick and easy. I also can just keep looking at my image because there's 2 keys that is changing my exposure. I don't have to look for where those keys are. I kind of know where they are now. So what I'm wanting to do here is pull up the exposure so that we can get a little bit more detail in our shadows there. So somewhere about there is good. So we have brought that up by 3 full printer lights because we started at 25 on each of those color channels, and we are now at 28. So that's really good. We've only brought it up by 3 and that's helpful because we are not really introducing new noise. Let's go to our white balance, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to hold down my command or control, which is going to enable my half printer light, and I'm going to pull down in the red channel, pull up in the blue channel just slightly like this, and you can see the effect it's having over there. If I use 9 to turn on and off that node, so 9 is going to enable or disable that node. So that's kind of where we started. That's where we are now in terms of white balance. If I go back a node, that's where we were exposure wise, and that's where we are now. So having made those adjustments, we're just in a better place overall within our image, specifically with our white balance. That's where we were before, that's where we are now. You can see there's a lot more separation with our image, and we can really start to feel where that shot might go to. I think I might just pull down on the green a little bit more, and that's looking pretty good. So now what we want to do is go to our next clip, and using the keyboard shortcuts, you can see how quickly we were able to move through. I'm going to go back to our exposure node, and we're going to do the same here. I'm going to pull the exposure up on this image. I don't want to go too much because we don't need to see all of the detail in that black gown that she has on the back shawl. I just want to make sure that we have enough light in this image to match this first shot. So let's go to the last. There we go. So as you can see, there's a lot of different light. There's a lot more light in this shot than there is in this shot. And that's okay. We just need to try and flatten a little bit more, at least in our balancing, so that it looks similar. So I'm also using V and N to go back a frame or forward a frame. And this is helpful just to move between those two really quickly. Cool, I'm happy with that. Let's move to our white balance. And here we're going to, again, enable our half stops just so we have a little bit more control. I'm going to pull down on our red, pull up on our blue, just like that. Go full screen and go back, forward, just so that we can see what that looks like. Let's bring up the blue a little bit more. I'm just going back and forward to sort of see what it feels like and if we can get a better match. Let's go to the end of the shot. There we go. Cool. So I think we've got a lot more blue in our hero shot here. Just keep bringing it down just a little bit. So looking a little green now. So I'm going to pull the green down. I feel like we're definitely very close now. As you can see, this shot is just looking better. Another thing to do is just to open up our vector scope, have a look at where our skin tone is sitting, and if we enable that, we're definitely looking pretty good in terms of our balance. So even though these shots maybe don't look exactly the same, I feel like once we have our look in place, they probably will feel a lot better. The lighting in this shot looks a lot different to the next shot. And if you look at the end over here where she's walking to, which is pretty much down there, you can see it is a lot darker than this shot is right now. So moving forward, we are here. Looking really good. The next shot is this shot. So let's actually just use our middle mouse button to copy that exposure and white balance across, and you can see that they actually do match really quickly. So instead of us going and doing the whole thing again, we are just copying it across and it looks pretty good. All we want to do is just bring the exposure down because you can see right there, it is quite hot. So that's pretty good, like that. If you feel like you don't really want to affect too much of your shadows, you can actually just come here and use your highlight slider, which is really helpful for bringing highlights down without desaturating them. So it's a great trick for this kind of balancing that we're doing. So those are the 3 shots within our scene that we're going to be doing. And as you can see, they are matching pretty well. Now what we're going to do is apply our look, and we're going to do that in different ways. Let's go to our timeline node graph, hit 1 so that we've got a serial node to play with, and this is where we can get a little bit creative. We can do that by using our curves and actually making our own look by getting creative in the curves, and obviously try and be as subtle as you can, otherwise you end up with something like this. But what we can also do is use technical LUTs, and that's pretty much how I like to make my looks, but I also really enjoy using Dehancer. So we're going to start with Dehancer, which is a plugin that is paid. If you want 10% off of it, check out the link in my description. It's just really helpful to be able to get a look really quickly, and I get great results with it. It's pretty much something I use on every single project. So I'm going to turn off the film grain for now. We're going to look at 2 ways to create looks. The one is going to be with the answer and the other is going to be free, just native in DaVinci Resolve. So here we go. We're going to just have a look at what this is doing to our image. So we're definitely getting that Kodak 250D feel to our image, but let's try something a little bit more subtle. So I'm wanting something a little bit cool somewhere there. Let's introduce a Kodak 2383, which is one of my favorite print films, and let's make that nice and warm. Let's enable our film grain on 65mm ISO 250. You can see what that's doing there. It's looking really good. Cool, so we're getting like a really blue feel. I'm going to also enable our halation and enable our bloom. And to me, that looks like a really good starting place for our look. I know maybe it doesn't look so great just yet, but I can see where this is going to go. Cool, and now we can start with the actual grading process. But like I said, we want to make look adjustments to our clips as well. So if we look at this, I feel as though our exposure hasn't changed dramatically, but we might want to make some changes within our actual white balance. So I'm going to pull down on the greens just to pull back some of that green because it's quite intense. Pull down on the blue just a bit so we can get a bit more of a balanced feeling image, because it was quite blue, and already I'm liking that. So I'm just going to copy that look adjustment node, go back to the previous clip, apply it over here as well. Let's see what that's looking like. It's looking pretty good. And then go to our first shot as well. Let's see what that looks like. So that's before and after. It's looking pretty good, right? This is where we sort of can't really use our keyboard shortcuts to make adjustments anymore, but we can use them for navigation. So they're still really, really helpful. I'm going to pull the contrast up over here. Let's control those highlights a little bit. Pull up our shadows a little bit. I'm really wanting to give this quite a gritty, dark feel, right? So lots of contrast in this image, somewhere there. Go to our saturation, and what we're going to do is come to our color slice. We're going to use our color slice to introduce our saturation. So set to 110. That's just because it gives it a bit more of a filmic feel. Saturation, it's a lot more deep and dense versus lifting our entire luminance as well as you increase your saturation. I'm going to set it somewhere there, and that's feeling really good to me. I'm really liking the tones that are coming out of this image. Let's go to the next clip and let's also grade this one. Remember, we're going to try and match contrast to the previous clip. Go to the first frame and go back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back and forward. You can see there is some inconsistencies here a little bit with our look, so we need to take away some of the blue. Go to the last clip and introduce some red and green, something like that, right? Coming back, we're getting close. Cool, so let's bring up our saturation as well. I'm going to bring it to a similar level, which was 122, I think. Yep, 130. I think we're going to leave it at 122 because we've got skin tones to consider here. This image is looking like it's in a really good place, but I do feel that our skin tones have gone a little bit crazy over here. So even though they kind of feel like they are matching a little bit, I just want to make sure that our skin tones look natural so that they don't look unnatural and then it doesn't feel right. Go to our power window, but to number 9. I'm going to make a new power window around our subject's face, just like this. Soften that quite a bit. Put it over her face. And then come back to color slice. Shift H. So we've got her skin. Let's make sure that it's nicely keyed, just like this. There we go. Cool. And then Shift H. And so now instead of it affecting all the other colors within our image, it's just her face. And we can change her hue, just like that. Really nice. So I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so that we can see here. Let's disable our clips. And let's affect her skin tone. So we're going to pull up our vector scope. So we've got our flesh line right there. And sorry, wrong one. Skin. I want to put it somewhere there. But I also want to, I'm going to reset this. I want to make sure that ellipse aren't in it as much. It doesn't matter if we don't have the cleanest key, because these keys work in conjunction with each other within color slice. So it's a great way to be able to make these adjustments. It's better than actually using your hue versus hue curves. The reason why I'm trying to get rid of her ellipse within the key is so that we have some variation within her skin. So if I turn off that right there and then make adjustments to her skin, we can see that it works a little bit better in the sense that her lips aren't changing as much either. So it's quite green now. Let's pull it up back a little bit, somewhere there. Come back over here, click Z to go to full screen over there. I'm going to pull back on some of the greens that we've got going on. So let's check the end of this image to this image. If I had more time, I would definitely spend much longer trying to make those two look very similar. I think they were lit in such different ways that it's going to be quite difficult to get them to a very similar place. But I think we're in a good place for now. Cool, so in this clip, let's affect a contrast. Let's bring up the shadows a little bit, bring down those highlights and control them. Let's just match nicely contrast-wise. I feel like we're almost there. It's just the highlights that are quite strong. So I'm actually going to use the gain to decrease them a little bit as well. I feel like that's a lot closer. Let's go to this. There we go, cool. Let's bring in some saturation again, going somewhere there. Definitely feel like that's looking good. Let's double check what his skin tone is doing. Enable qualifier, and we're pretty close. I think that what we could do is make an adjustment into our look adjustments and just bring down, or actually increase our green, so that that skin tone is coming closer to that flesh line. So I think that's looking pretty good. That was before our look adjustment node, and that is after our look adjustment node. So this is the clip before. Let's play it back. Make sure that we're matching nicely. And this clip, I think we could increase saturation in this clip to somewhere around 34. Go back again. And that's looking pretty good. We definitely have a lot more green in this shot, in the shadows over here, and we could affect that by going to our hue versus hue, but actually using it just to pull down in the green in the, just like that, just pull the green down in the shadows. And that just means that we aren't really creating a whole new node. We don't need to affect our node tree. We're just using a node for a specific reason, because we're not actually going to change any hue versus hues or saturations. So moving through, that's looking pretty good. We've got a decent looking grade going on. What we've done is we've framed our viewer's eye by using vignettes. We have balanced skin tones by using color slice and using keys, but we've also been able to move through our project really quickly by being able to create nodes and navigate clips really quickly using these new shortcuts. And there's so many other ways that we can use shortcuts to do something like this. So if you enjoyed this video and this workflow is really helpful to you and you can use these shortcuts, please hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this, and let me know what you think in the comments of this workflow. Thanks so much, guys.